Hello and welcome to the Evolve Pipedrive podcast, where we talk about everything Pipedrive, sales, apps, and the Pipedrive marketplace. In this episode, I'm sitting with my business partner, Aaron, CEO and technical lead here at Evolve, and we want to go a little bit deeper into the construction industry and how Pipedrive can help there, or even a CRM in general can help that business. There's a couple of questions I'm going to pose to Aaron. Why should a construction company consider a CRM? What pains have we come across, and what pains have we addressed in some of our projects? And then how Pipedrive can help construction companies to do that. So, Aaron, I've got a question here, right? So, if we're talking about CRM construction, why? A lot of the people that I talk to, I've spoken to the last couple of months, they actually say they don't have a sales team. Now, my first question is, my first question used to say, how can that be? There must be the MD's doing it. And they honestly and sincerely would think they didn't have a sales team. But if you dig deep enough, they still have a sales process. So there is a new inquiry, there is the first call, scoping out. So is this work that we want to deliver? And then they would, at some point, it would go to a specialist that's going to spec it out, and then it then gets sold, or a quotation then gets sold. And so they might not have a business development person, but they are still selling. So from your experience, what and why would you see a construction company using a CRM, even if they don't think they have a sales team?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with going to the point of, let's accept you don't have a sales team. I think everyone can accept you have a sales process. If you sell something, you have a sales process. And this isn't a big issue. And of course, there are also many clients who come in and they are, forward thinking and realize that, the guys they might call an estimator or a project, project estimator or something, those are their salespeople. And so they may recognize that already. But let's just go with, we don't have a sales team for a moment. And say, how would a CRM be used if, this is a sales CRM, right? The core purpose of a sales CRM is to manage your sales and for your sales people to use it. And it's particularly in SaaS, and the terminology used is a lot around sales. So if you don't feel like you're hugely sales orientated, or you don't have a specific sales team, then some of the marketing and messages might miss you slightly. But so I'm going to focus on the point that's not sales to start with, and that is time saving. There is, in every business, there's a huge amount of admin, things you have to do that don't directly make you any money. And the less of those you have to do, or the quicker they are to do, the better for everybody. And that is a twofold point, I think. It's, firstly, you're saving money, literally in man hours. But secondly, the time you're saving allows you to focus on the things that you want to do, which keeps everybody happier. But is focused on the important things, whether that's actually developing the business, or spending more time having good conversations with clients and getting that extra cup of coffee and a sit down and spending a bit more time there and things like this. So there are huge benefits to saving time, money, and reducing admin. So that's the first point to using a CRM. We find a lot of clients who aren't on a CRM yet, they're still on spreadsheets. And even using paper, whether that's paper for estimates, whether it's paper for invoicing,
job sheets, yeah,
exactly. So somebody's sent out of a job sheet on paper in the morning, it actually might feel like a huge jump for them to go out with a tablet, or an iPad instead. And that's way too far. We don't need to go that far or something. But the benefits are enormous, and it's a really easy. It's easier than paper. There's no printing. There's no, what do you do with the paper afterwards? There's no paper getting trodden on the bottom of the van floor, or tucked down the sides, or lost, or it's everything's recorded digitally on the cloud immediately, and there's no opportunity for lost data. There's no additional admin work taking what's on that bit of paper and getting it onto a system, which inevitably has to happen. And there's also no filing. The days of filing cabinets are gone. We don't need filing cabinets anymore. So, if you are using filing cabinets and you're storing lots of paper, I think that's another point to why use a CRM is, quite literally reduce the amount of storage space in your office and the amount of printing you have to do.
Yeah, but just on the point of time saving, not sales and printing, because if you were, and I know there's some that we've helped that did this, that the CRM actually helped their business massively, but it hasn't really touched the sales department. What it did do, it streamlined the back end services, so they didn't have to keep re-entering data that they had from an email from the salesperson into a job sheet, into the calendar. It was in one system, and everyone in the office knew that. But they still printed, and I just want to push back on that. Like, they still printed but one job sheet, and the time saving wasn't from the guys going on site not having paper. The time savings was the guys having to copy and paste details into the job sheet on a spread. That was the time savings there.
Yeah. So if we take a little workflow example here of a new email comes in from a potential client, you extract the details of that and pop them onto your spreadsheet so you can keep track of the lead and where it's at. And then actually, that progresses to, we're going to go and do a site visit. So out of that spreadsheet, you copy and paste the details into a piece of paper, into a Word document.
Yeah.
That's then printed and sent out with the estimator, and there's some questions on there they fill out and what have you and maybe they take some photos. They send those, but at the end of the day, they get back into the office and hand a big stack of paperwork over to one of the admin team in the office, and they put all that back into the spreadsheet again. And then, they follow up and see if they can win the job, of course. And then when they win the job, they take all of that data back out of the spreadsheet again and copy and paste it into a project kickoff sheet, whatever it might be, a job spec sheet. And so, there's a lot of copy and pasting going on there. There's a lot of paper moving around. There's a lot of manual work. And if you took one job from the point of, the email coming in through to the job being completed, and the amount of paperwork that's done, the amount of copy and pasting, the amount of having to go back through that spreadsheet, there's hours and hours there per job, just basic administration work. Where with today's technology, just one thing can be, an enormous benefit. There is, let's say now you implement a CRM in the same business, that email comes in and it's there visible in the CRM. We click a button that extracts the details and pops it into the contact into the database part of the CRM. It takes the potential transaction, the potential deal, project, whatever you want to call it, and starts that as a new deal that you can manage through a pipeline and things. Now we need to produce a job sheet and we do that in the CRM. We click a button, it merges all the data that you already put into that document. If you really want to print it, you can print it from the CRM. It's got everything in there. We haven't had to copy paste it. You just click the print button. And of course, you are going to have to manually put that back in when someone gives you the bit of paper afterwards. But let's say, actually they have a tablet. So they also go into the CRM. When they get to site, they can see the contact, their details. They can phone ahead because there's contact details in there. They can input the details when they're on site. They might record a voice note into the deal in the CRM, which, of course, the second it's saved, because we're on the cloud, of course, the office have got that recorded note and can start working on it. So, it's faster as well, actually, to work in this way. Much, much, much faster. So, I don't even have to go through the rest of that workflow to say, you could imagine how much you might turn 5 hours admin into an hour per job, which is, enormous.
Huge.
Especially, an average, let's not call them a salesperson, but an average admin manager in an office might process 10 to 20, inbound inquiries per office person or something. I think in that use case you were talking about just then, that was the sort of numbers. So if you can save 2 hours per job on 15, it's the average of the two numbers I just gave. You save 30 hours a week. I mean, that's bonkers, and that's just on that process, let alone all the other things that are going on that you could potentially use the database, the deals, the CRM, and that doesn't even touch on what we haven't even talked yet about, the sales benefits.
'Cause I was going to touch on either the sales benefits or to the wider business owner benefits. Like what contractors deliver the most work? What contractors turn down the most work once they've been involved with a deal or a job? So why would you? Yeah, so giving that kind of understanding and that top level insights and very accessible reporting. But I just wanted to jump onto pains and like what we've seen, right? So there's a couple of things where I think you feel this as well, where when we're talking to these construction companies, and they could be, a manufacturer up north, they might be a roofer in the south of England, they could be someone on the east coast of the States, but what they do, like that they're great at their craft. They're masters at doing the landscape gardening, the masters at building houses. But they actually have a fear of the guys on site sometimes, that they might not be technologically involved enough to be, like, take an iPad open and do this.
Yeah.
How have you found that, like during some of the projects? Because I know when the project itself, when you have to go to training and the use case, how have you found that?
I think intrinsically people want their lives to be easier.
Yeah.
And when you talk about introducing technology to people who it doesn't or hasn't previously come naturally to, there's a fear there of more work or life being harder. And the reality is, once you get over the hump, and I like to call it a hump, it's usually a couple of weeks after the deployment of a new piece of tech. Once you get over that, people realize that the system makes their lives easier. There's a huge eureka moment, and people then really engage, and you'll see them flip from, it's more work, I've got to fill it in, into asking you questions. How do I make it do this for me? Or how do I automate that process? Or,
that changes really fast, doesn't it? That does change really fast. And I'm just going to bring this into COVID, because we're recording this in COVID times, where someone said to me once, it was probably October last year, "Oh, I can't believe we're out in London having drinks during a pandemic. Nothing's really changed." And I said, "What are you talking about? We got in an Uber. Everyone in the car had to wear a mask.
Yeah.
We've just had to sign in." Like, so that those kind of, how quickly we adapt to the kind of technology around us, and it eases into our lives. And that, so in the COVID sense, but also I think in the day to day, to your point, if it's making the life easier, it's you actually forget how much time it saved you, and then you only look to the upshots of what else it can do for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where does Pipedrive fit into that? Like, what does that bring? Because why I like the kind of, if you can break your process down into stages, then you've got a nice way to do that.
So the reason Pipedrive, or there's lots of reasons, but the number one reason I'm gonna put this as the number one and pin it up there, why Pipedrive is right for construction, is it's so easy to use, but offers well enough functionality for all the different things a construction company is going to need to do. So creating estimates and proposals and emailing them out and keeping a timeline of communications with each client, invoicing, tracking custom fields. You could put your contractors in there, and suppliers and things can be in the database, and you can, track and sync your emails with them and sorts of things. So there's loads of functionality, from lead booster. You have a web form on your website to capture leads, through to note taking and be able to tag other people. The mobile app, of course, so your guys out on the road are using on their mobile phone or
yeah, the mobile app's great. And we found out the other day that it actually currently has unlimited storage. So some of our clients, we've suggested the guys on site take photos on their app. It then goes directly into their Pipedrive. So there's no, when they're on site, that the back office is there straight away. There's actually currently no limit to that. So at some point, I'm sure they'll put some storage limits on it, like Google Drive just recently have. But right now, it's brilliant for those guys that are taking photos on site, for whether it's for later to go into the quote and the estimate. It's brilliant.
I also think Pipedrive is the best CRM for people who don't consider themselves salespeople, because it breaks down a process, a set of actions and activities. And as we always say, with activities at its core, it's focused around what you need to do each day, administratively, if that's a word, versus, hard sales, right? It doesn't use huge amounts of sales language. It's not, as much as it is a sales focused CRM that can be used for other things, of course, but it's so easy for an admin person, if that's what they want to call themselves here, or a project manager, or an estimator or something like that, or even somebody, a site manager or something, to use the CRM and just feel like it assists, it's an enabler in their day, as opposed to, it's some kind of hardcore sales or marketing tool. It's not that. It's a space where you can have a digitized version of your business systems.
Yeah, and we use it all the time. Like, it's that single source of truth for the business. So even if because what is a CRM at the back end? It's a big spreadsheet. I think that was brilliant. From my point of view, I'd like to say thank you, Aaron, for taking your time to walk us through that. So that was another episode of the Evolve Pipedrive podcast, where we talk everything Pipedrive, sales, apps, and the Pipedrive marketplace. We'll be back within a week with more episodes. And appreciate that. And thank you very much. Cheers, Aaron.
Thanks, Bruce. Cheers. Bye-bye.